Hello and welcome back to American Textbook Reading. I'm Brian Stuart. We are going over Lesson 13 now. We're talking about here on Earth. Where do we live? We live here on Earth. In this unit, you will discover Earth's land and water. As you know, Earth is a planet, right? It has water and land on the planet. It also has air. We're going to be talking about the Earth in this lesson. So are you ready? Let's get started. The first word, of course, we're talking about is the Earth. The Earth. This is where we all live. None of you live anywhere else except for on the Earth, right? None of you live on the moon yet. Maybe someday we'll live on the moon, but not yet. Right now we live on the Earth, and the Earth is the third planet from the sun. There's actually a famous TV show in America. It's called The Third Rock from the Sun. And this, of course, is it's a fun way of saying the third planet from the sun, the third rock. Because if you think about it, the planets are like big rocks, right? What are the first three? There's Mercury, Venus, then Earth, okay? Then the fourth one, of course, is Mars. Those are the small planets next to the sun. Mercury, Venus, Earth, that's us, and then Mars. And then there are other planets after that, the big ones. But anyway, this is the Earth, and this is what the Earth looks like from space, right? So we can see it's a very beautiful planet, and it's where we live. It's our home. It's the only planet like this in our solar system. And it's the third planet from the sun. So the sun is here, Mercury, Venus, Earth, that's us. Yay! Okay? So 1, 2, 3. The third planet from the sun. Okay, our next word is globe. Globe is a round object. It's round. It's like a ball, right? A ball that you bounce. Don't bounce the globe, right? It won't bounce. But it's the same shape as a basketball or baseball, things that are round, the same shape. It's a round object that is a model of Earth. It's a model. It's not the Earth, right? It'd be too big. It's a model of the Earth. We make it smaller. It is like a symbol of the Earth. And it is a model of the Earth, so it looks like the Earth, the way the Earth actually looks like. You can see the different parts of the Earth on the globe. It's like a map, but it's a map in 3D. You know 3D, of course. 3D as opposed to 2D. 2D is a paper map. A paper map. A paper map only has 2 dimensions, right? There's the dimension wide and there's the dimension tall. But 3D has 3 dimensions. You have this way, you have that way, but you also have inside. You have 3 dimensions. So a globe is a model of the Earth that is in 3 dimensions, and it looks like the Earth. It's more accurate than a map. A map is only flat. It's paper that it has only 2 dimensions. And because it's only 2 dimensions, some of the Earth that is on the map is bigger than it should be. Like on the edges of the map, it's bigger than on the center. So a globe is a much more accurate or better model of what the Earth looks like than a map. Land. Land, of course, on the Earth is where the hard surface of the Earth is, as opposed to water. Water is not the hard surface, right? You can't stand on water, whoop, right? You sink in the water. You'll go down in the water. But on land, we can stand up. The land is hard. We won't sink in the land. Of course, we live on land. If it was just water, we wouldn't be able to survive, or we would be fish, right? We would be something else. But we wouldn't be human beings if there was no land on the Earth. So land is the hard surface of the Earth. Land is also where we grow our food that we need. This looks like a farm, and they're preparing to plant crops. Okay, when we talk about land, we can also talk about continent. Continent. A continent is a very big piece of land, a very large area of land. A very large area of land or a very large piece of land. This is a continent. This is the continent of North America. It is very, very large. America, North America. So it includes many countries. You have Canada, the United States, Mexico, Cuba, and other countries in the Caribbean. This is all North America, a very large piece of land. By the way, how many continents does the Earth have? Do you know the answer? In America, we're taught that there are 7 continents. We'll see a chart. What are they? We'll see a chart later on in this lesson. What are the 7 continents on Earth? So I'll leave you in suspense, right? Think about that. We'll come to the chart soon. What are the 7 major continents on Earth? Think about that. We'll come there soon. We'll talk about that soon. Now that's continent. What about ocean, right? I talked about land. When I said land, right, is the hard surface of the Earth. Those are where the continents and islands are. That's where we stand. But the other part of the Earth, most of the Earth, is not hard surface. It's soft, right? It's the ocean. It's covered by water. There are oceans on the Earth. Ocean is a large area of salt water. Salt is the key. Salt water that covers most of Earth. Because there are large freshwater areas, those are called lakes, okay? But if it's salt water and it's very large, it's called an ocean. How many oceans are there on Earth, right? I said there are 7 continents. How many oceans? Do you know how many? If you chose 5, you would be correct. What are they? Think about that. That's part of the chart that we'll talk about next. Or not next, but soon. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Think about that. Okay, so continents and oceans. Now, also, when we talk about the Earth, especially when we look at a map, it's very important to notice the compass rose on a map. The compass rose. It's not a flower, okay? It just looks like a rose, right? It kind of looks like a rose, so people say it's a compass rose. Now, a compass rose is a symbol. It's a symbol. It's not real. It's a symbol. Where do we find this symbol? We find the symbol on maps. What does it do? It shows directions. So it's a symbol on maps that shows directions. So if you look at the map, you can find the compass rose printed on the map, and it shows which way is north, which way is east, which way is south, which way is west. That's what your compass rose will show you. It will show you directions. So if you're looking at a map and you're thinking, well, which way is north? Look for the compass rose. It will show you. So the compass rose is very important, as we can see in this video. Now, this is not a compass rose. This is an actual compass. So what you do when you have a compass and a map, you have to change the direction of the compass to match the compass rose that we can't see on this map. But what this person is doing, they have to match so that north on the compass is north here is pointing the same direction as the compass rose on the map. So what they have to do is they have to turn the compass so that north and north on the compass rose on the map are the same. And then they can figure out which direction on the map to go. For example, they want to go from this city over to this city. They line it up. If this way is north, they have to go that direction. They can see exactly what direction they have to go in to get to the next city. And that's very important, obviously. When you look at the map, you see the direction, then you put the map away and you go in that direction. You can use your compass to walk or to drive, to ride a horse, do whatever you want to get to the other place. But you need to know the direction. The compass rose will tell you the direction on the map. Okay, we have a picture of the world here, a chart of the world. Now this is a map. It's two-dimensional. Before I said it, a map is not as accurate as a globe because on a two-dimensional map, things at the top get really stretched out, right? In the middle, they're okay, they're the same. But as you go north or as you go south, things get really big. Greenland is not as big as it is on the map. Greenland is not, for example, that big in the United States. If you took Greenland and put it over the United States, it wouldn't be half, it would be much smaller. But because it's a map, 2 dimensions, it's not very accurate. Things get spread out and they seem to be bigger than they actually are at the top and the bottom of the map, but not on a globe. So, a map is flat, but a globe is round, just like Earth. That's what I'm talking about. So we have a flat map and we have a round globe. They both show Earth's land and water. That's true. But a globe is better than a map because it's more accurate. It shows you exactly the size and the location on the globe. However, globes are not as convenient as maps. You can't pick up a globe and put it in your pocket and take it with you, right? But you can take a map and fold it up and put it in your pocket and take it with you. So there are good and bad things about maps and globes, okay? So this is a good example, right? This is a good example of map. Do you see the compass rose on this map? That's right, it's right here. That's our compass rose. And this, of course, will point north, south, east, west. So if I wanted to know, if I put a compass here and I want to know which direction, if I'm in China and I want to know which direction is Egypt, I'll put my compass here, line up the north on my compass to the north on the compass rose, and then it will tell me what direction, what degree west by southwest to get over to Egypt, depending where I am in China, of course. So it'll tell me what direction I have to go in to get from one country to another country, or from one city to another city, one place to another place. Okay, so this is a good map of the world. Now, let's do a matching exercise. We're going to match each word with its definition. So let's take a look here. The words are earth, globe, land, ocean, continent, continent, and compass rose. Compass rose. 2 words we'll think about as together. Number 1, a large area of salt water that covers most of the earth. Right? These things cover most of the earth. What do we say? It's not the hard surface of the land, it's the soft surface of the land. It's water, right? The surface of the water is soft. What do we call it? And it's salt water. It's a large area of salt water. Of course, we say that is an ocean. It is the ocean. Oceans and land cover the earth's surface. The land is hard, the oceans are soft. Oceans are salt water. 2, the third planet from the sun. We talked about that, right? Mercury, Venus, Earth are the order of the planets from the sun. Mercury is closest, Venus is second. What's third? I almost said it. The Earth. The Earth is the third planet from the sun, or the third rock from the sun, as the TV show title says. Number 3. A round object, it's 3 dimensions. A round object that is a model of Earth. Remember, it's round, not flat, it's round. So what do we call that? We call that, of course, a globe. A globe is a model of the Earth. Number 4, a symbol. So we're talking about here a symbol. Where do we find it? On maps. What does it do? It shows directions. And it's on maps. So it's a symbol on maps that shows directions, or a symbol that shows directions on maps. What do we call that? Remember, it's 2 words. The only one here that's 2 words, compass rose. And we saw an example of that when we looked at a map of the world. We saw the example of the compass rose. Number 5, the hard surface of the earth, right? Hard, like your head, right? It's very hard. What do we call that? That part of the earth is land, right? Not ocean, but land. A very large area of land. So if you're talking about land, very large area of land, what do we call that? Remember, there are 7 of them on Earth. There are 7 very large areas of land. We separate them. What are they called? They're called continents. Continents. Okay. Here is the chart I promised to show you before. When we talked about continents and oceans, remember I said there are 7 continents and 5 oceans. What are they? Well, this chart tells us what they are, right? Earth, land, and water. Very beautiful pictures, by the way. This picture is of desert, right? Of course, it's land. This picture is a very beautiful, looks very nice, looks very blue, and the sun is over there reflecting off the water. This is, of course, of the ocean. Now, there are 7 continents. American school children are taught that there are 7 continents. It's interesting because in other countries, sometimes school children are taught there are only 5 continents. In some countries, there are 6 continents. But American school children learn that there are 7 continents, and these are the continents: Africa, Antarctica. Where is Antarctica? Antarctica is around the South Pole, right? It's covered with snow and ice, but there's land there, right? Underneath all that snow and ice, there is land. A large area of land. It's called Antarctica. In some countries, the school children are not taught that Antarctica is a continent, right? So then they only have 6 continents. But American children consider Antarctica as a continent. Asia is a continent. That's where we are now. Australia. Australia is it's an island, but it's a very large island, right? And it's a continent by itself. Europe is a continent. North America and South America are 2 different continents. Sure, they're connected, but they are 2 different continents. Now, it's interesting, too, in some parts of the world, people will not consider Europe and Asia as different continents because they're connected, and they're connected not by a narrow piece of land, but by a very large piece of land. Some people consider Europe and Asia as one continent, and they call that continent Eurasia. Eurasia. So in some countries, they consider Eurasia as one continent. And if they also teach that Antarctica is not a continent, then in those countries, there's only 5 continents. But in America, American school children are taught that there are 7 continents, and these are the continents. I'm not sure about Korea. What are you guys taught in school? Are you taught that there are 7 continents, 6, or 5? In this textbook, of course, we're saying that there are 7 continents because this is American textbook reading. So in the States, we say that there are 7 continents, but it depends on how you define the continents. It's very interesting. There are 5 oceans. The Arctic Ocean. Arctic, where is the Arctic Ocean? It's at the North Pole, right? It's between Russia, Europe, and North America on the other side. Very cold up there. There's a lot of ice up there. And in fact, a large part of that ice never melts. It's permanently there. But it's not land. It's just ice. There's no land, so there's no continent up there. It's an ocean. It's the Arctic Ocean. The Atlantic Ocean. Where is the Atlantic Ocean? It's between Europe, Africa, and North America and South America. That is the Atlantic Ocean. Then there's the Indian Ocean. Where is the Indian Ocean? Well, that's easy. It's around India, right? It's around India. It's between Australia and East Africa, right? All that ocean there underneath Asia is called the Indian Ocean. Then we have, finally, the Pacific Ocean. That's the biggest ocean on Earth. It's huge, really, really big. That is the ocean between Asia, North America, and also Australia and South America, right? It's really, really big. And there's a lot of islands in the Pacific Ocean, but it is the biggest ocean on Earth. It is really, really big. And that is the Pacific Ocean. So there are 5 oceans, and in America we say that there are 7 continents. Okay. Let's complete the sentences that best describe the pictures. These sentences describe these pictures. Let's take a look at them. So we have a map is what? But a globe is beep, just like Earth. So what we're doing here, we can see that we're comparing a map and a globe. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're comparing them. How are they different? How are they the same? In this case, we say a map is what? but a globe is this way, just like the earth. So if we try to put in our words, we don't have any words, so this is kind of difficult. But think about that. If you take a map, you can spread it out, right? It's 2 dimensions. A globe is round. It's 3 dimensions. I just gave it to you. Globe is round. If a globe is round, a map is what? A map is flat, right? When we put the map out, it's flat on the table. And like I said before, a globe is round, just like Earth. Now that's how they're different. How are they the same? They both show Earth's what and what. Remember the 2 things we talked about on Earth, right? We talked about there's 7 of one, 5 of the other. They both show Earth's land and water. So we could say continents and oceans, but we could also say land and water. Either one would work. In this case, we're using land and water because we can see the Earth's land or continents. We can see the Earth's water or oceans. Okay, land and water. So this is basically the difference and the similarity between maps and globes. Both of them help us learn about the Earth, where we live. Let's do our true-false questions. A globe is a flat object that is a model of Earth. So a globe. So, a globe is a model of Earth, that's true. But is it flat? No, we just talked about that. A globe is not flat, it's round. So we'd have to change that. A globe is a round object that is a model of Earth. That would be true. So we have to change the sentence to make it true, so it's false. That sentence is false. Number 2. An ocean is a very large area of land? Does that sound right? Land? I don't know about that. An ocean is a very large area of land. An ocean is a hard surface? Does that sound right? That doesn't sound right. That's false. How do we change it? Well, there's 2 ways. One way, we just say land. We change that to water. And that would be true. An ocean is a very large area of water. Yes, 맞아요. That is correct. Or we could change it another way. We could keep it the same, don't change, keep it the same as land, and then just change this to a continent. A continent is a very large area of land. That's true. So there's 2 ways we could change this sentence. But in any case, we have to change it. So it's not true, it is false. Number 3, a compass rose. Remember we talked about compass rose? Is a symbol that shows directions on maps. So a compass rose, where do we find it? On maps. What does it do? It shows directions. So a compass rose is a symbol that shows directions on maps. Is that true? Do you remember when we talked about compass rose? That is true, absolutely. So number 3 is true. Okay, that wraps it up for the vocabulary section, talking about the Earth. Stay with us. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and talk about the reading section, so don't go away. Okay, welcome back. We're going to go over the reading section. And what is our unit called? Of course, Here on Earth. So the reading passage, we're going to be talking about the Earth, where we live. Now, the first sentence is our topic sentence. The planet where we live is called Earth. So here's our subject, the planet. Here is the idea, the controlling idea, where we live is called Earth. So the planet where we live, is called Earth. Okay, so that's what we call Earth. We all live there, right? We don't live on the moon, not yet. We all live on Earth. Now, what is Earth made up of? In the vocabulary section, we talked about 2 things, but actually there's another thing, right? It is made up of air, water, and land. We talked about water and land, but if you think about it, it's also made up of air. Without air, we wouldn't be able to live. And the Earth has an atmosphere. We call that the air. So land, water, air. Those 3 things are what we are concerned about, or that's what we know about very well, because that's the surface of the earth. It is made up of air, water, and land. A very large area of land is called a continent. North America is a continent where most people speak English. So when we look at this, right, we're talking about air, water, and land. Now, even though they talked about land last, so they talk about a very large area of land in the first description. So, maybe that's not very good ordering, but that's the way that this passage is. A very large area of land is called a continent. So we get more definition about land. We get more details about what land is. And we get an example. North America is a continent, right? So continent, what is an example of a continent? North America. What about North America? What's unique about North America? Where most people speak English. True, Canadians and Americans speak English, but not everybody. It says most, not all, because North America also includes Mexico and Cuba and Haiti and some other Caribbean nations where people don't speak English as their native language. They speak Spanish as their native language. So it's not all people, it's most people. Most people speak English in North America. There are more Canadians and Americans than people in Mexico or other Caribbean nations. Okay, on Earth there is more water than land, and that's true, right? The amount of water is much, much more than the amount of land. The Earth's surface is mostly water. You may not realize that, but if you take a look at a globe or a map, you can see, well, there's a lot more water than there is land. So there is more water than land. What do we call the large areas of water? We call those oceans. An ocean, what is an ocean? It is a large body of salt water, not fresh water, salt water. If the earth is so big, how can we find new places? Of course, this is a big problem a long, long time ago when people didn't have globes and they didn't have maps that showed very far away places because they didn't know about those places, right? 500, 600, 700 years ago, people didn't know. A lot of people didn't know the earth was round. They thought it was flat. And they didn't know about, if you lived in Europe, a lot of people didn't know about Asia or Africa. They had no idea about North America or South America. So how did people find their directions? How did people find out where to go? Well, they used a compass rose, they used a globe, and they used maps. Okay, well, after they found out the earth was round, then they made globes. So if it's so big, how can we find new places? We can use a compass rose, we can use globes, we can find maps, and we can look at the earth. Of course, we can just get on an airplane and buy a ticket to somewhere, but if you want to know yourself, use these things. Find out where different countries are. Plan a trip. It's very interesting. Okay? We can use these things to discover places on the earth. So that's a very interesting thing to do. If you have a globe at home, take a look at it. If you don't have a globe, take a look at a world map. Look at all the different countries. Look where they are. Where do you want to go? You could go anywhere, right, that you want to go when you get older, when you get into college. Take a trip somewhere. Very good experience for you. But take a look at a globe. Take a look at a map. You can discover places on the earth. You'll be very happy and surprised, and it will be very educational to travel. Now, we can use a globe to plan our trip. So if you do have a globe, take a look at it. Figure out where do you want to go. Then we should use a compass rose and map to find our direction, right? Then you can use a map, find the compass rose, and you can figure out the direction you need to go in. Take a look at a globe. Try and plan a trip to a fun new continent. So if you're in Asia, think about where do you want to go? Do you want to go to South America? Do you want to go to Africa? Think about that. What places do you want to go to? What new continents do you want to discover? Okay, so we have a video of the globe here, and we can see as it's turning around, we can see the different continents and the different oceans. We have ocean here, the Atlantic Ocean, South America, North America. It looks very fuzzy, doesn't it? Okay, this is the big ocean I was talking about. This is the Pacific Ocean. Look at how big that is. It's really big. And of course, we have Australia coming up into Asia, Africa, and Europe up here. And of course, some people call Europe and Asia the same continent, Eurasia. But American kids are taught that Europe and Asia are different continents. Depends on how you look at it. Okay, so that's a good video of the earth, the land, and the water of the earth. Now, our reading skill here is main idea and details. Our main idea is earth is made up of air, water, and land. Now, in our vocabulary, we were concentrating on water and land, but we also had mention of air. And you think about it, that's what earth is made up of, right? We have land where we live, water, most of the earth's surface, and air above us and, a few miles up into, many kilometers up into the sky is air. And that's what we're concerned about. Those are the things that we need to live, right? So this is our main idea, and we have three details that support the main idea. In each of these three details, there's a blank. We have to fill in those blanks with these words here: ocean, globe, continent. Let's take a look. First detail, a large area of land. So a very large area of land is called what? Ocean, globe, or continent. We just talked about this, right, before. So this is a continent. So a large area of land is called a continent. Second detail. Now we're talking about a large body of salt water. Before we were talking about land. Land is continent. A large area of land is a continent. Now a large body of salt water is called what? An ocean, right? Remember, it's salt water. If you look on a map or you look on a globe, you will see large bodies of water between between Canada and America, in North America. But between Canada and America, there are some very large bodies of water. But they are not salt water, they are fresh water. Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, these are fresh water. They're not salt water, so we don't call them oceans, we call them lakes. So it has to be salt water before we call it an ocean. It's a very big or large area of water. Third detail, a compass rose, beep, and map, sorry, that's not a beep, and map are things to discover places on the earth with. So we talked about that. If you want to discover new places on the earth, what can you use? You can use a compass rose, a map, and what else down here? Of course, it's a globe. A compass rose, a globe, and a map are things that you can use to discover the earth with, or new places on earth with. Okay, let's move on to our reading comprehension questions. What is a very large area of land called? So we're looking for a very large area of land. Do we call it a continent, an ocean, or a globe? We just talked about continent, right? So hopefully your memory is good. A large area of land is called a continent. Not an ocean. Ocean is a large area of water. And a globe is just a model of the earth. Okay, number 2. Earth is made up of. Made up of. We talked about 3 things that the earth is made up of. One of them, of course, is water. What are the other 2? And salt water. The earth is made up of water and salt water? That doesn't make sense, and that's not true anyway. There's 3 things, not 2, and these are very similar. That wouldn't make sense, right? What about the hard surface of the land? Okay, earth is made up of water, land, and air. There's 3 things, right? And is it true? Sure. Water, land, and air. Those are the 3 things earth is made up of, so that's true. The choice C, water, continents, and compasses. The earth is made up of compasses? That's crazy, right? That would have to be a lot of compasses, right? To make up the earth, to help make up the earth. That would be very terrible. There'd be a lot of trash, wouldn't it? A lot of plastic laying around. So of course that's silly, right? So C is not the correct answer. B is the correct answer for number 2. Let's move on to number 3. North America is a continent where? What is special about North America? It's a continent where something is true. Something is unique, maybe, about that continent. A, most people speak English. North America is a continent where most people speak English. Is that true? Yeah, that's true. I remember I talked about most people. Not all people, but most people in North America speak English. That's true. Let's look at B and C for practice. B, most people live in the ocean. Now, I'm from America, and I don't remember most people living in the ocean in North America. That's crazy. Maybe someday people will live under the ocean or in the ocean. It's possible, but we're not there yet. And besides, most people probably won't live in the ocean. They'll still be living on land. So that's very silly. Okay? C, most people uses compass roses. Well, first of all, we have a grammatical problem here. Most people should be use. So obviously right there we know C is incorrect, right? And it's very silly to say it's a continent where most people use compass roses. That has no connection to what we're talking about. So C is not a good answer either. So A, most people speak English. That's what we talked about in the reading passage. Let's move on to number 4. What are things we can use to plan a trip to another continent? What are things we can use to plan a trip to another continent? So we want to go to another continent. What are some of the things we can use? We talked about this before. A, we can use an ocean, which is a large body of salt water. Well, first of all, we're looking for things, plural. And this only gives us one thing. So just on that basis alone, we're kind of suspicious of A. We don't think it's a good answer because it only says one thing. But we're looking for many things, more than one. So right there, that's a little strange. But let's look at it a little bit closer. We can use an ocean, which is a large body of salt water. But, you know, we need more things. And we don't really use an ocean to plan a trip to another continent. It doesn't sound right. And again, of course, we're looking for more than one thing. So A is not correct. What about B? We can use a globe, but should not use a map. Now again, globe is just one thing. And then we're saying we should not use a map. So we're not saying there's two things. We should only use a globe. So we should only use a globe? We can't use a map? That doesn't sound right. So that's incorrect. C, we can use a map, compass, and a globe. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, things, plural. That's what we're looking for. What are things we can use to plan a trip to another continent? 1, 2, 3. These are things. And they are the correct things. A map, a compass rose, and a globe are the things we use to plan trip to another continent. We can use these things. So C is the correct answer in this case. Okay, let's take a look here. We see again the chart of the Earth. Now there's no blanks to fill in, but let's just summarize our unit with this picture here. Of course, we see the map of the world. This is a two-dimensional map. It's a flat map, right? You can spread it out. That's what we have here. A map is flat, but a globe is round, right? So a map is flat, a globe is round, just like Earth. So that's what we're talking about here. Remember, there's different advantages and disadvantages to a map and a globe. A map you can fold up, put it in your bag. A globe is very awkward, very hard to carry around with you, right? Okay, but both a map and a globe, they both show Earth's land and water. So both a map and a globe show Earth's land and water. And we talked about that in this lesson. We talked about the water of the earth, and we also talked about the land of the earth. And we said that the water was oceans. There are 5 oceans, right? We have the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. So Pacific Ocean, which is over here too, right? Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, and up here on the top, we can't see it because of these words, the Arctic Ocean, the Arctic Ocean. So there's many different oceans on Earth. There's many different continents or land, right? We have North America, South America, we have Africa here, we have Europe, which is here, kind of small compared to Asia, right? Asia is very big. And we have Australia. Is there one I'm missing? Yep, it's Antarctica. And again, you can see down here, Antarctica, but take a look at this. Antarctica looks huge, right? It's bigger than all the other ones. Well, this is the problem with the map because it's flat. Like I said before, if you go to the bottom, it makes things appear a lot larger than they really are. But if you look at a globe, you see that Antarctica is actually a lot smaller than it looks like on a map because of the difference, 2D versus 3D. Okay, but anyway, we use a map or a globe to find places on the Earth. And remember, you have a compass rose that you can use on a map. So our unit here was here on Earth. And as we can see, we're talking about different places or different features of the Earth. There is a lot of land that we live on, but there's more ocean than there is land. It's very interesting. And like the reading passage says, take a map of the world. Look at it. It's very fascinating. Sometimes I like to look at a map of the world and think about, where have I been? Where do I want to go? Right? We all think about places to travel. And it's maybe more interesting to look at a globe because that's more accurate. It's more interesting to look at a globe than it is on a map because it's real. It looks like the Earth. It's a model of the Earth. So that's a good idea. After this lesson, why don't you take a look at a map? Take a look at a globe. Think about where you want to go someday in your future. Plan a trip. Make it a good one. Anyway, that wraps up our lesson for today. We'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.